and welcome to our new presentation with Tradingshenzhen.de.at. Today we would like to present you the new Xiaomi Hongmi, also known as the Red Rice version. As may some of you know, it is the cheapest way to get into a native Miui version 5 from Xiaomi. It is around $240–250, and as you will see in this review, it is a pretty good deal. Before I start with the review, I wanted to tell you I really care about the feedback. I want to improve the videos more and more, so that this time I made a short overview about all the topics that are covered in this video with the time, so you can skip right through the topics you are really interested in. But let's start with the review. We will start with the specifications. The Hongmi comes with a Mediatek MT6589T 1.5 GHz quad-core. Also includes an PowerVR SGX 544 graphics card. It comes with a 4.7-inch display with a 720p resolution. At the back we find an 8-megapixel Samsung camera with a lens from f2.2. At the front we find a 2-megapixel camera. Then it's also included 1 GB of RAM and 4 GB of ROM, which can be extended with micro SD card to a maximum of 32 GB. It supports all the usual frequencies, so it can used in whole Europe or, for example, also the USA. It has a GPS Plus and a GPS chip, Bluetooth 4.0 and VPN, and the battery is 2000 mAh big. It also has MIUI 5.0, which is based on Android 4.2. It weighs 160 grams and it's 69 × 137 × 9.9 millimeter big. Let's look at the package. It's quite simple, like with every Xiaomi mobile phone. It's brown, it's pretty simple styled, but who really cares about the package? Before we start with the review, I want to make a short preface about the ROM situation right now. Some of the shops releasing the Hongmi with a ROM of MyAndroid.com, which isn't bad, but right now Xiaomi hasn't released a developer version, so that the MyAndroid.com ROM is based on a port from another mobile phone, which of course brings some problems. There are some bugs and not all features are supported, like for example HDR camera, or the sound is a little bit buggy. But the advantage is that it supports multi-language, and there are, I think, 27 languages supported. Till now, I really recommend to use the stable version from Xiaomi, which you can find on the website. Right now it's stable 3, and there you have all the features. They are really good supported, there are no bugs. The only disadvantage is that it's not rooted and only English language and Chinese is supported. But don't be desperate. There will be soon a developer version, and then all the communities like Miui Germany, Italy, France, Holland will jump on and will make a better local version, so all your languages will be supported better. Enough about the ROM, let's go further with the design. The design is for me a little bit a mix of Nokia Lumia and the old Mi 2S. It's not so round like a Nokia Lumia, but has more curves than the Mi 2S. But it's a really nice phone. It's a little bit heavier, of course it is 4.7 inch, but I have to say that the bottom line is a little bit thicker at most of the other phones. It feels really solid in the hand, although it is made of plastic. And this time I have to say, the cover at the back doesn't feel really slippery. The Mi 2S had a problem with this. What I recognize with 4.7 inches is that it isn't really easy to handle with one hand. You have to use two hands mostly. Except that it is really standard Xiaomi design. You have the power button and the volume button on the right side. At the top you find the headphone plug. At the bottom you find the USB plug. At the back you will find the camera, this time a little bit more square. In the front you will find the 3 keys, this time also without light. For me personally is 5.7 inch the maximum of using it with one hand. Usually you will use it with two hands, hold it in the left hand, use it with the right hand, and I'm not a big fan of a flip cover, but the flip cover with the Hongmi, it is really fast open, protects the screen, and it doesn't make the mobile phone so thick like usual flip covers. Also have a look inside and remove the back cover. There we see the usual orange battery of Xiaomi, Moreover, we have two SIM cards plugs and a micro SD card plug, this time the first time, which can extend the memory to 32 GB. Let's compare the Xiaomi Hongmi to the iOcean, which is a little bit bigger, but of course it has a bigger screen, which is 5-inch. The iOcean is also a little bit thinner, but only a little bit. And let's compare the Hongmi to the Mi 2S. Like you see, it's quite bigger, and people with bigger hands and people who like bigger phones will love the Hongmi, but I prefer small phones, so for me the perfect phone is the Mi 2S. And as we talked about the design, let's move on to the display. The display is a 4.7-inch display with a resolution of 1280 x 720. And I have to say, it's really sharp. I saw some comments that a 4.7-inch display with that resolution, you will see some pixels. But I tried it by myself and I showed it some other people really close, and there were no pixels. It was really sharp, clear, and I have to say it is a little bit lighter than even the Mi 2S. And the IPS panel allows a really good angular view without losing any of the color. Of course, they're using Gorilla Glass 2, which is better shock-proof or scratch-resistant like other glasses. Therefore, I can't really say anything bad about the display. Let's move to the OS. There we see an MIUI version 5.0, which is based on Android 4.2, but you don't have to care because there isn't any difference between the Android 4.2 and the 4.1 from Mi 2S. What's really nice about MIUI is that it uses the resources like the 1 GB RAM or the Mediatek CPU so balanced that you never see really a lag. The system runs really smooth with animation set to 1. Of course, the animations are a little bit faster with the Mi 2S. For example, the phone app opens a little bit faster, or other apps like Facebook open also a little bit faster, and games, they start a little bit faster. But you have to see that the Hongmi is a low budget phone, and you have to compare it to some other phones like the S3 Mini or the HTC Desire 500. And when you compare it to these phones, I think you make a better deal with the Hongmi. I would like to demonstrate some of the smoothness in the system, so I will show you some apps. For example, the SMS app. It's open really fast, and when an app is once opened, it's set into the RAM and then it even opens faster. And even when you have a lot of apps open and the RAM is really full, so it's down to 100 MB, it's still pretty fast. I know it from other phones, like for example the LG Speed. When you had there 100 MB free of RAM, there was a whole big of lag. Also other apps like the gallery, it's really smooth. Other apps like for example Feedly, which I use every day to swipe through my news. There you can swipe through the news, scroll, zoom. It's really smooth, it's really perfect. Also Tap and Talk, it opens really fast. You can jump into the topic, read through, zoom, swipe really fast, no lags. Or here the Maps app, it opens fast, the animations are fast built, no problem for the Mediatek 1.5 GHz. And last is the browser. You see it's really smooth, you can scroll, swipe at the bottom, at the top, you can zoom in, zoom out, no problem. What I also would like to show is the small features that makes MIUI so special. For example, the camera can read QR code automatically, or you can really customize the notification bar like you want. With the theme manager, you can really theme everything in the system, from the docs to the symbols, to the sound files, to the backgrounds. Xiaomi offers with MIUI 5.0 a really complete and full package based on the needs of the user, where I see some of the other developers and companies like Samsung, they offer a lot of features, but they are not really used from users. And often other companies like Samsung and Sony include apps that are not really needed, and moreover they are not really deletable. Xiaomi, for example, includes apps like a backup app, data usage app, they are really useful, or an antivirus app, and some features that are a little bit hidden. For example, you can activate the flashlight right from the lock screen, which is really handy when you are in a dark spot and you need faster flashlight. You don't have to unlock the screen, search for the flashlight app like with other phones. But it's enough to talk about the greatness of Miui, so let's go deeper into the hardware and see the performance. And let's start with N2N2. The Hongmi scores here 16,770 points, which is really good for a Mediatek CPU. Some of the Mediatek, most of them with 1 GB RAM, score around 15,000 points, so 16,000 points is a really good score. With Quadrant, it comes to 5,760 points, which is also quite good. Generally speaking, the performance of the Hongmi is really smooth and fast. Like you have seen before, the apps open really fast and look smooth, and it is on the same level like most of the other Mediatek 1.5 GHz smartphones. Of course, some of the apps opens a little bit slower when you compare it to other top phones, but you have to consider it when you buy a low budget phone. But let's go through some hardware killers like HD videos or hardcore games. Let's start with an HD video. Here we see a small HD video from GoPro promo. It runs really smooth, no pixels, no lag, really nice. And I have to say also that the HD camera recording is really nice. With game, it's another story. There I have to say, most of the games, like 90% of the games in the Play Store, will run smooth without problems and anything else. But some of the apps, really hardcore apps, will have some problems. Also, Death Trigger 2 runs really smooth. It's really nice to handle with the screen and looks really gorgeous on a 4.7 inch. Here we see Blood and Sands. Not my favorite game, but for a short play it's good enough. And it's, like you see, without any lags and completely smooth. Also we see here FIFA 14, for some of the users one of the favorite games this year, and yeah, with such a big screen it's really nice to play without any problems. But the real hardware killer, like here for example Asphalt 8, they are not really smooth. There is a small lag, and I have to say it's on all Mediatek 1.5 GHz CPUs because they have mostly the same graphics card. It's not such a big deal. Also, Most Wanted, it isn't really smooth. You can play it if you like it, but I don't feel to play a laggy game. But you have also to consider it is a low budget phone, and 90-95% of the games that are in the Play Store will run smooth without any problem. But 5 to 10% of the hardcore games, they will have a problem. And for example, Dungeon Hunters 4, it's a complete lag. So if you are a really hardcore gamer and like to play games on the mobile phone, the Hongmi isn't the right mobile phone for you. Beside the design and the performance, one of the main features of today's smartphones is the camera. A lot of people making really nice shots with the smartphone cameras, posting them on Instagram or Facebook. So it's really important for most of the users. There I have to say that the Samsung camera really impressed me because I wasn't expecting a good camera with such a low budget phone. Let's have a look at the camera app, which is on most of the Xiaomi devices the same. The nice thing is that there are a lot of features already included. You have a burst mode, you have HDR mode, you can also view some settings and show live filters. Therefore, I think the camera app is really nice design and includes a lot of features that can make a lot of pictures way better. A real highlight of the camera is the focus. It is so fast that I had to turn off the beep sound because it got really fast annoying when you move with the camera and it's all the time beep beep beep. Of course it's a good thing because you can really fast focus and make a shot. Let's compare some pictures. I think it makes pretty good photos at daylight. They are quite sharp. The brightness is good enough, not too bright. It could be a little bit more colorful, but it's still pretty good. But also a real highlight are the macro shots. You can really get close to the motif and get some really cool pictures. Generally speaking, day photos are quite good. But let's see some pictures at night. Pictures without the flashlight have some grayness and doesn't look really sharp. Of course you can improve this with a photo taken with an HDR mode, but still photos in the dark don't look really good. I think most of the smartphone cameras have problems with pictures at night, and the flashlight is usually not really useful. It's too bright when you have some people in front of you, although you have to consider that it is a low budget phone. In the end, I prepared some HD videos. The first one is in 720 1020p, which looks quite good and it's really smooth, no problems with that. And the last one is in full HD video, and it's still pretty smooth, and which is good because some of the Mediatek CPUs have problems with it. About the front camera, I don't have to say much about it. Most of the front cameras are only useful for some Skype video chats or something like this. It is like with any other mobile phone. But finally, I really liked the camera. It really impressed me. I wasn't expecting such a good camera and so a low budget phone. It's making really nice shots at the daylight. Of course the night shots aren't so good, but most of the other smartphones also have problems with night shots. What I really liked is the software of the camera. Let's move to the music and the sound quality of the mobile phone. The speaker sound wasn't really good, but with a low budget phone you had to cut off any of the features. So if you really like to play some movies or play some games, I would recommend the headphones because they are way better. The headphone sound had more bass and could get really loud without losing the deepness of the sound. Moreover, you can do a lot of settings and adjust the sound of the headphones with presets and equalizers, which is really nice. And I heard a lot of comments in the internet that the bass is really strong, which I completely can confirm. Except that there isn't much to say about the sound. The quality during a phone call is completely free of cracking or other annoying sounds. But I have to say, I never had a phone that had bad sound in phone quality. One of the biggest disadvantages with a Mediatek CPU is the GPS. Most of the Mediatek CPUs have a problem with the GPS. The GPS signal is low and the GPS fix takes longer than on most of the other phones. Some users reporting a GPS fix within 1 minute, some users reporting it with 30 minutes. But I don't know how Xiaomi did it, but it's really fast and strong with the Hongmi and has a better quality than most of the other Mediatek smartphones. Of course, you can improve the GPS fix with our GPS mod a little bit more, which you will find a tutorial for in our YouTube channel. I tested it with a GPS fix mod and I got a really fast signal. Here, for example, I show you a picture. I was outside and tried it with a fresh restart or straight from the system and got a GPS signal within 8 till 20 seconds. And what was also really nice is that a lot of satellites were straight in view and connected really fast. Of course, a lot of users ask how is the quality when you walk or doing a run. So we wanted to try it out and made a small walk and compared the quality to the Mi 2S. As you see here in the picture, the quality of the GPS signal from the Hongmi and the Mi 2S both are really good. The Hongmi has some jumps, but really small jumps, but it was still pretty good on the road and wasn't any problem to find the way with the GPS signal. Of course you see a small difference because the Mi 2S has a Qualcomm CPU and the GPS signal is way better and way more precise, but the Hongmi is still good enough to go for a run or to use it as a navigation. We made also a small test on the highway in Germany and drove around 20 minutes on it and was really impressed because there wasn't any jumps on the left, on the right side of the road which could lead to a recalculating of the route. It was all the time in track, really constant and so on. It was easy to find the way to our final destination. Finally, I can say that the Hongmi has a really nice and really good GPS signal and GPS fix. Especially with the GPS fix mod, it's way better than most of the other Mediatek smartphones. Of course, you have to consider that most of the Mediatek smartphones have a problem with the GPS fix and it takes a little bit longer, but the Hongmi does it best. Although if you use a smartphone with, for example, Qualcomm CPU like the S3 Mini, you will get a better GPS signal. But still, the Hongmi has a good GPS signal and it's good enough to go for a run or use it as a GPS navigation. At last, I will tell you something about the Wi-Fi, which is from the same quality like most of the other phones like the Mi 2S or Meizu or an iOcean. I tried it here in the sleeping room, which has a decent distance from the router and it has the same signal quality. Also Bluetooth 4.0 is from the same quality like most of the other phones. It connects really fast and has a good distance. About the battery, it isn't really special. 2000 mAh isn't such a big battery, but it's still enough to go for a whole day. I plugged it up at 7 in the morning, and at 8 in the evening I was still at 35%, and I'm a really heavy user, having 90-20 apps on my mobile phone, and 40 apps of them are all the time connected and syncing all the time. So it was quite good, and even as a power user you will come through a whole day without charging. But like with most of the other smartphones, you will have to plug in every evening or night. That's it for now. Let's come to a conclusion. But I have to mention that I compare to other smartphones in the low budget area, and not to high-end smartphones like the S4, because then the Hongmi would lose in most of the points. Let's start with design and handling. I give it a 3.5 points because I think it's really nice made. It feels handy and it feels really solid. Of course it's a little bit more heavier and the bottom could be a little bit smaller, so only 3.5 points because I think Xiaomi could made it a little bit more compact. Let's move to the performance. Here I give 4 points because I think you have to compare it to other Mediatek smartphones or low budget smartphones, and there it is really smooth with MIUI, the really good performance handling with the RAM and the Mediatek CPU. The system runs really smooth, open apps is without any lag. Also great camera features like the burst mode, which isn't available on every Mediatek CPU. Of course it isn't the best hardware for hardcore gaming, but most of the games, 90-95% of the games in the Play Store will run smooth without any problem. But if you compare it to other smartphones in this low budget area, it is way smoother and faster than most of the other smartphones. Therefore 4 points. Camera is also 3.5 points, which really impressed me because I wasn't expecting such a good camera. Day photos are really nice, the focus is really fast, and macro pictures look really nice. Of course, night photos aren't the best, but most of the cameras have problems with this, so only 3.5 points for that. Only 3 points for the sound quality, because the speaker isn't of good quality. Way better are the headphones, which have a good bass, for some people maybe too much. But headphone quality is quite okay. And with phone quality there are no complaints about this. GPS quality, there are also 3 points, but I have to say it has the best GPS quality I ever have seen in Mediatek CPU. But also you have to say that Mediatek CPUs have a slower and weaker GPS signal, but still the GPS quality from the Hongmi is better than most of the other Mediatek smartphones, and it's good enough to go for a run or use it as a GPS navigation with Google Maps. So 3 points here. Last we have the battery. There we have 3.5 points because it's good. It's nothing really impressive, but it's good. It comes through the whole day without charging, and if you are even a power user, you will have still a little bit left at the end of the evening or night. But like every other smartphone and most of us, you have to recharge it every day. Finally, I can say that the Hongmi is, for me personally, one of the or even the best Mediatek smartphone in the low budget area that I ever have tested. It's really smooth. MIUI 5.0 gives the phone an additional benefit. And if you compare it to an S3, for example, Mini, or an HTC Desire 500, they both are of lower performance. The camera quality is lower, or sometimes the RAM is also lower. So if you are searching for a mobile phone that has a 4.7-inch screen, has a really stable MIUI on it, and you don't want to spend more than 240-250 bucks, then the Hongmi is a perfect and a really good deal. That's it. At the end I want to answer some questions that user asked. The first question is how it works with the dual SIM. At the back you have 2 slots for SIM cards. You can put both inside, and when you're making a phone call or you sending an SMS, you will be asked every time with which SIM card you want to call or want to send an SMS, which is really nice. For the internet you have to choose one of both, but of course you can change every time. Also somebody asked if you can activate the do not disturb mode per SIM card. There I have to say this is not possible. It's only possible to activate it for the whole phone and choose some hours where the mobile phone is silent, but of course you can select some contacts which can go through this do not disturb mode. One of the most asked questions was will there be a local version for our country, for example, Germany or France or Italy? And I have to say yes, because most of the developers waiting for the developer ROM of Xiaomi, and this is only a question of time. And if it's released, most of the communities will jump on and build a local version really fast, because most of the strings are already translated. Another question was, is the Hongmi OTG compatible? This is of course with every Xiaomi device the case, so there is no problem with that. You can plug in any OTG cable and use an USB stick or a hard drive or even a mouse without any problems. A big question was also how often are there updates for MIUI. And I have to say, usually the stable ROM is updated once a month or even lower. But the developer ROM is updated every Friday, and you get every Friday some bug fixing and sometimes even new features. So it's really recommended to jump on the developer version when it's released. So we made it through. That's it. I thank you for watching the review of the Hongmi, sponsored by Tradingshenzhen.de. Thanks for watching, and have a look at our other YouTube videos or our social channels where we post news about gadgets, tablets or smartphones coming from China. Bye!